Hello and welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights, the show where we ask SaaS founders, CEOs, marketers and investors about the lessons they've learned in their quest to grow their companies. My name is Paul Stevenson and I'm founder and CEO of SaaS marketing agency 47 Insights. On today's show I have an interview for you with the president and CEO of Klipfolio, Allan Wille. I caught up with Allan at the SaaS North conference in Ottawa. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great to be here. Thank you for. And where are we? We're at SaaS North.
Second year at SaaS North.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
You guys were here last year.
Yeah, that's right. So we were here last year. I was actually part of the advisory committee. It's a very loose committee that helped put this show in place. And last year was the first year, and we were all absolutely blown away at how successful it was. There was a forcing function. We said, listen, let's have it at this date, and we made it happen, which was amazing. We got everybody in Canada who has anything to do with SaaS together in one room.
Literally in one room.
And the quality was really, really good. So I think this year is going to be even better.
Great. So Klipfolio, for those that don't know, is a dashboard, metrics?
Yeah, for sure. So, we help a lot of small and mid-sized companies monitor the health and performance of their business. We're big believers that you have to monitor to improve, to understand, and to learn. So, no matter what you're doing, if you're using Klipfolio or if you're using Excel sheets or something else, monitoring is important. You have to do that. You have to set the goals and understand what's working and what's not.
So I think I came across you guys a couple of years ago, and there was a few other competitors in the market. But I think at that time, and forgive me if what I'm saying isn't right, that you became predominantly known as like marketing dashboards. Is that
yeah,
right?
I think we were spending a lot of time selling into marketing agencies and marketing departments, and the reason for that was that marketers have a tremendous landscape of tools, and probably more so
Too
than
many.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You've seen those MarTech landscapes.
Yeah, it's stacked.
and there's like 300 vendors on there, if not more.
5,000,
right?
I think.
Maybe it's 5,000. That's right. Well, whatever it is, even 300 is too much, right? So I think marketers find it particularly difficult to understand and monitor all of the data that is happening. Where's their spend going? What's it producing? What is the funnel doing? So yes, we've spent a lot of time working with marketers, but we're selling into sales organizations, success organizations, marketing, warehousing, retail. So we have 10,000 customers, and across small, medium, and some teams in large businesses. But you're right, marketing has definitely been one of those shining star. They really asked for this more than some of the other departments.
So how did you get started, not only with Klipfolio, but in your career in SaaS, I guess? Or?
Sure. In my career in SaaS.
Your career, full stop.
Yeah. So I've always had this sort of entrepreneurial bent, right? You start your own grass cutting company. You run a summer camp.
Just bootstrap something.
You do something, right? Because it's amazing to create and sort of see the value and get feedback, right? So in earnest, I started another company in '96 with two other guys out of university. We were still in university, totally green behind the ears. And back in those days, we raised a ton of money that we probably shouldn't have raised. But that was fun, and I exited that company. The company did do an IPO as well, but then I started this company in 2001. So we've been at this
a long time.
Now we've gone through various different twists and turns. And we started actually as a consumer dashboard, so it was always about monitoring something. That was the genesis of Klipfolio. It was about being better at monitoring the things that change and the things that you care about. And the first instantiation of that was, well, let's monitor your soccer scores and your news and your weather and your stocks. So it was a personal dashboard, that was updating every few minutes and showing you the things that you cared about. And it was wildly popular, but we couldn't find a business market. The idea was that we were going to sell to publishers, the CNNs and the sporting networks and the stock exchanges. But they didn't have any money. They still don't have any money today. But nonetheless, we had thousands upon. We had 300,000 end users using our consumer dashboard.
Wow.
But no business model that worked, right? So
No revenue.
yeah, and I mean that's tough, right? Because on the one hand you have something that's working, and on the other hand you have something that's not. So
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, what's the right call?
Yeah.
Do you continue pushing, or do you succumb to brutal reality?
So at what stage did you make that from consumer to B2B sort of pivot?
Yeah, so that happened. That happened with, and it wasn't our choice. It was an external factor. So Lufthansa came to us and they said, half of the staff in Germany is using your tool to monitor their soccer scores. So
Business use case.
FC München and FC Frankfurt and all the rest. So they said, listen, we love your tool, but can we push business data through that would help us, be more real time? And all of a sudden that was the click.
That is so great.
That was the click, and we said, and what's interesting too, so again, like sometimes it's great to be naive and green behind the ears, because the quote that we put in front of them was a SaaS, it was a recurring revenue model quote. We didn't have a clue, but we said, well, why don't you pay us, X number of thousands on an annual basis?
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't
Annual,
we, right?
straight out of the box. That's smart.
Absolutely. So, and that was 2004. So we had this recurring revenue model business starting in 2004. We never had a perpetual model. Anyway, so Lufthansa was our first real customer. We got EMC and Intel and a whole bunch of other enterprise customers. So that was the first big pivot in the company's history.
That's great.
Yeah.
So obviously along the way with that pivot, you gained a lot of traction. Was there anything with in your marketing that particularly took you to a different level or changed things, scaled things up for you?
I think the next big pivot for us was actually, and yes, you could say it was marketing, but it was actually more fundamental than that. It was a shift from selling to enterprise to selling to small and mid-sized business.
And when did that?
So that was, so it happened, there was a couple of influencing factors. Again, and one of our big enterprise customers, Aviva, came to us in 2010. So we had some mediocre, slow growth between 2004 and 2010. So 2010, Aviva came to us and they really liked our tool, but they said a few things. Can you make it easier to use, because we don't want to work with IT?
Yeah.
Can you make it? Can you put it in the cloud and make it mobile, because the iPad has just come out and all the senior execs are running around with a new iPad. And the third thing that they said was, can you make it less expensive so that we can buy it as opposed to going through procurement?
Kind of departmental purchase.
Yeah. So,
smart.
And that was, I'll remember that advice, for the rest of my life, because it was those three things: put it in the cloud, make it less expensive, and make it easier to use. That really shifted the whole business to a small and mid-sized business space. Keep in mind, the business intelligence space, selling into enterprises, is incredibly crowded.
Yeah.
And yet this new space, SMBs, really had it was a greenfield opportunity. So we had shifted the business in 2010, 2012 to be much more SMB focused. So that was the fundamental next evolution of the business. So, that really got the customers us acquiring customers. It really helped us grow. And that's when we did our seed round, our A round, and our B round. So we went from a couple of hundred customers selling into the enterprise to we've just surpassed 10,000.
Wow.
So very different trajectory after we made that.
So starting in 2001, it's an overnight success, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So along that journey, you and the rest of your team evolved. I think I'm always interested in understanding leaders within business and like how they sort of keep fresh. Mm-hmm. Do you have any sort of personal growth insights that you've learned along the way, or habits that you have, or stuff that you do that keep you fresh or keep you learning?
Yeah, that's I think it's really important to understand those things too. And I don't know if this is the right answer, but I think one of the
no right answer.
one of the most important things that I think I do, and I think if I look at a lot of successful leaders, is they maintain some semblance of balance. And I think that's you have to allow yourself the downtime and the soak time. And I have a beautiful family. I like to, and I want to spend time with them. And I really don't subscribe to the idea that startups or tech companies have to work the 12, 14-hour days. It doesn't make sense.
So much bullshit around
and as a leader, I never stop thinking about Klipfolio. I think that's almost impossible, but you still have to allow yourself different times of the day. Even if I'm reading a bedtime story to my 10-year-old daughter, there's things in the children's book that kind of make me think about various things. I'm watching a movie, or I cycle to work every day, and I find that's my mental health time. Even when I'm cycling,
your subconscious is
exactly.
Stuff.
So I think that for me is one of the most important things, because I think you can very easily tire yourself out. You can start spinning your wheels and get into this rut of trying to work harder and harder. Whereas you really need to have that downtime. You need to have that soak time that helps you make the right decisions.
That's very good advice. Thank you very much.
I think there's probably lots of other advice too, but that's maybe one thing that I've done that helps.
I've got one. When you come to conferences, don't drink on the first night. But great. Thank you very much. So the website is klipfolio.com.
Yeah, for sure.
And thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule here.
Yeah, absolutely.
To talk to me. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Allan. For more info on Klipfolio, please visit www.klipfolio.com. For more info about this show, and to get our links to iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher and YouTube, please visit www.47insights.com/podcast. And if you have any SaaS marketing insights that you'd like to share on the show, get in touch via that page. Until next time.